is amazing for you. In fact, Robin, you should be taking it right now and drinking lots of it.
Yeah, I need to. I do all the elderberry stuff. I'm still battling this thing, whatever the hell this thing is, but it's a sinusy, throaty, just feeling blah, no energy thing. So yeah.
Reishi mushroom. Trust me.
Yeah, I'll look into that. I don't know. I haven't seen it before.
I have a picture of it somewhere.
Oh, cool.
For you.
Thank you. So yeah, it affects the voice, and so that's what I apologize for.
Dear.
Here. Reishi mushroom.
Okay. I'll try to find it.
What a night for you to get picked on, Robin.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I was on a show earlier today, and they said, "You want to cancel?" I said, "No," because this goes to wellness, especially when you are feeling down, because this has affected my energy levels and I just feel, it's like, who cares? I get, it's like mild depression with this almost, but what keeps you going is something to look forward to. So even though it's a push, when you have something to look forward to, it keeps you upbeat, keeps you positive, which actually helps you heal faster. So absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, I'm glad
describe blah.
Blah is low energy. I never take naps, and yet I took a nap today, and I went back to bed this morning after my wife went into the elementary school to work. I've never done that. I actually skipped my swim today. I only walked, and I never skipped my swim. So yeah, that's the energy is just gone. It's sapped.
Wow.
Yeah, apparently you shouldn't do anything.
It's not COVID. I literally have my COVID test right here. It's not COVID. So
because I don't want to catch it from you.
Yeah. Okay. I won't cough.
With 2 minutes in, we haven't done an intro.
My face.
So I'm saying we're 2 minutes in and we haven't done an intro yet. So shall we?
Oh, we're live.
Yeah, we've been live.
Mushrooms and coffee.
Of course.
Okay, so Lena, do you want to go first?
Sure. I am Lena, the interrogator. I wore my interrogation hat just for tonight to get into Robin's mind. I can't wait. Lena Sisco, former Marine Corps certified interrogator and also former Naval intelligence officer. I own my 2 companies, Congruency Group and Sector Intelligence. I'm a published author. I did a TED Talk. I do some work and dabble in TV. And yeah, I think that's about it. Gav, I'll ping it over to you.
Thank you. So, Gavin Stone, former everything. I've just had to play with absolutely everything. I'm feeling some of Robin's Blair tonight. Former civil servant for the British Ministry of Defence, worked in the security and intelligence industry for around about 20 years. I've tried a little bit of all sorts, from covert surveillance, spy recruiting, close protection. You name it, I've had a go at it. And also author of the best-selling book here, How to Tell If Somebody's Lying. This is our YouTube channel where we are going to tonight mess with Robin. Over to you, Robin.
Robin Dreeke. I am a former Marine, a spy recruiter for the FBI. I ran our counterintelligence behavioral analysis program for the FBI. Retired FBI now. And best-selling author of 3 books, and I run my own company too, peopleformula.com, and have my own podcast, Forged by Trust. There you go. Simple.
So poor Robin's still feeling under the weather, so
I'm feeling great.
That's a lie.
Feeling great.
There we go. So, Lena, you didn't tell them about all the tools that you keep in the drawer, did you? And the gloves and the whip, just the hat.
Not yet. Well, the funny thing is, I brought out the whip, but it's so big. I'm like, they won't even see it. So I just
fair enough. Right then.
You think I'm kidding? I'm not.
I don't think so at all.
Robin's like, nah, I believe it.
Well, thank you, everybody, for coming over and joining us. If you're here and you haven't subscribed already, then please do so. If you like what you see, then stay in touch. We do this every fortnight, and on the opposite week, we go over to our Facebook page, which is TCG Tribe, which stands for the Congruency Group. Come and join us over there. And we've got a great, fantastic community over there of great people as well. This week, we've promised to do a day in the life of an FBI spy recruiter. where we are going to, Lena and I are going to team up on Robin and ask him all the questions that everybody wanted to know about a life as an FBI spy recruiter. And we're going to drill down into the nitty gritty of what it was like for Robin during his career. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. And if we can, hopefully, can you guys see the chat where you are?
Yes. Oh, wow. Hey, everybody.
I can.
Yeah, we've got a great group. So it's been amazing.
Oh, yeah, there I can. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Fantastic. So yeah, please put the questions in the chat if you have any. And if we can, we'll try and ask them. So if there's anything you've ever wanted to know about Quantico or the FBI or Robin's hairstylist or anything at all, then let us know. And we will ask the questions. So, Lena, did you I forgot what we're going to do now. Did you say you were going to kick it off with the first question?
Yeah, I can kick it off. But first, I love the comment about Robin's hairstylist. Robin, you got a little bit of a flock of seagulls going on there. Yeah, digging the new wave.
No, it's all real.
Yeah, you see, and that is something to be proud of. I love that. All right, so maybe I'll start off with, it's a question that seems a bit heavy, but I don't think it's not that heavy. And we talk about these common themes all the time, right? Being curious, being humble, and having a little bit of woo. So I think I want to kick off with a fun question, Robin, for you. And that is, how are you woo?
So it's a great question. How am I woo? I just talked about this earlier today. What I have found throughout the course of both my life, pre-FBI, pre-Marine Corps, pre-now, is that if you want to start making connections with other human beings, you have to dive deep to understand them. And every human being has a different framing and context for their life, their experience, their belief system, their morals, their ethics, their spirituality, their religion, all that. So I've always been fascinated by it. I grew up in a house I grew up Catholic, but it wasn't like Catholic doctrine. My parents were pretty spiritual as well, kind of believing more than just this. And so I was exposed to that early on. And then as I matured through the process of learning how to make connection with human beings, I realized that we connect at a very, very deep level. And some people are ready for it. Some people aren't ready for it. And so I kind of always just want to match people where they're at. So how am I woo? I believe there's more than this. I read a lot. Matter of fact, I've mentioned it on the show numerous times. I've read everything by Eckhart Tolle, Wayne Dyer, someone mentioned it on an earlier thing, and the Tao Te Ching, the Holiness Dalai Lama on happiness. I mean, I read a lot of spirituality stuff, and also metaphysics and multidimensional stuff. So if it's a possibility, I'll try to read about it. That's how I'm woo. I'm very open to all possibilities without judging any of them.
Gav, I have a follow-on question, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so, as interrogators, we always have to pay close attention to the person answering our question, in this case, Robin. And it's not only paying close attention to the words, but it's also watching their facial expressions of emotion, their body language, and all of that. So all of our senses have to be open. We have to be so aware to take in everything in order to dive down deeper into a subject matter that we want to learn more about, or we want to persuade them to tell us more about. So I'm just going to ask a follow-up question about what Robin said, because it intrigued me, and I still have a question about it. He defined it, but to me, I still can't. So my follow-up question, Robin, is, you said that, being woo is connecting with people on that deeper level. Describe what the deeper level is in your own words.
I described it earlier. I can't believe it was yesterday or today. Actually, it was yesterday with a client. I literally, the best way I can describe it is when prepping for a podcast or prepping to have an interview with anyone. My prep is really deep, but simple. So, because it's about making that connection. I do all I can to let go of everything about me. I have my agenda of the things I know that they want to go to and eventually talk about, but I let go. I don't think of what I want to ask. I don't think of what I want to say. I don't think of things I'm trying to take in to try to be witty. I don't think of anything except how to focus 100% on everything they're saying so I can literally do all I can to walk in their shoes as them and become curious. That's what I'm talking about when doing the woo, is literally trying to match them, their energy, and be them when I'm communicating.
Right. This is going to be a nice light one in comparison because you're sitting there like that, going, ah.
It's me doing my sickness.
No, it's really easy one, simple one for you. I get the impression that this wasn't always the way you thought, and this wasn't something that you didn't. You were on about your Catholic background, your spiritual parents, but I don't think that was how you were your entire life. I get the impression that you grew up and then there was possibly a singular event or multiple events that made like a switch flip, and you got, there's something to this, and that's when you maybe started reading the books and going along those lines. Would that be accurate? And what point was it in your life that happened, or what was the event? If you don't mind talking about it, that is.
I'll talk about absolutely everything, as you all know. There was multiples. I've always had. So I always frame this as my experience, because if people don't believe in it, if they're pure agnostic, I mean, I just got done reading Sapiens, which is pure nothing but biology of evolution. I get that. No problem whatsoever. My experience is I've had from probably around age 9 to current, every once in a blue moon, I'll have a profound dream or connection that is radically different, that kind of solidifies my viewpoint of the universe. And along the way, there was a point when I was studying organizational psychology that I got really into the science behind the neuroscience of the brain, and I lost all faith or knowing of anything beyond. And it was a little depressing. But around that same time period, there's another few events that cascaded that I wasn't even looking for, that said, oh, nope, I'm good. I'm solid, very solid for the rest of my life. So it allows me to read things like Sapiens and read the neuroscience behind everything, and understands that for me, purely for me, the balance between the dichotomy, as I love talking about all the time, of science as well as the science of what we don't know. To me, it's all science. It's just the science of the unknown. There's science of the known and science of the unknown. So I believe my is all about string theory and vibrations of energy. And so that's when we're making these connections, kind of circle back to the question Lena asked. Making the connection to me is doing our utmost to let go of our own vibration and match the vibration of someone else.
I want to quickly follow on again, Lena, if you don't mind. I just want to ask Robin, out of curiosity more than anything, how many times have you made the noise? And that's the noise being when you're reading something, you go, huh? You've got to have done that, right? You're reading something on kind of either frequency and vibration or psychology or biology, and you've just gone, huh? Because you've just come across something and things have just clicked into place where the two have overlapped.
That's a good question too. I don't go, huh, like that anymore. But it's not because I'm not impressed. It's just I'm in a constant state of constantly being impressed, is a good way to put it. I don't have these moments of aha, because almost every day, almost every moment's filled with aha. A great conversation for me is filled with aha. And I have a natural state of wonder, is a good way to put it. A natural state of curiosity that keeps me from having spikes of huh to I'm just always huh. I'm always in that elevated state of right. Earlier, I'd say when I was more self-assured that I knew more than I actually did. I probably had more of those moments because they spiked for me. Like, wow, I actually don't know that. That's something new. Now it's like, of course I don't know that. So why would I think I do? So it's kind of flipped where I'm a much more humble learner now than I was ever before. And so every moment is, that's crazy. And you all can see it too when I'm doing interviews, you know, with someone. I mean, when I go like this, my nonverbal is like, wow, that's a story.
And that happens a lot.
It does. See, it happens a lot. So I don't go, huh? I go, huh. So I guess it's not the knowledge that that gets me, because I've read a lot. I listen to a lot of people. There's some nuggets in there that are slightly different, but everyone's saying the same thing. It's the context in which people are delivering it, which is always the aha for me, because everyone's experiences are different and how they've experienced those different things and how they're bringing it forward. That's the wonder to me, is the uniqueness of each snowflake. Even though it's snow, it all makes snow, but every snowflake is unique. And so I guess that's the analogy I'll use for it.
I like it.
Love it.
Lena.
All right. I really want to do a bridge here, but I'm going to ask one more question, because I read in the comments, and Brian had a great question about when did you first learn about curiosity? I'm going to actually put that one on hold for a second, but I'm going to ask you almost the same question, but when did you first learn about woo? About being woo? About this, however you want to describe it. That's why I just call it woo.
So I've known about it for a very, very long time. It's been part of who I am. I didn't consciously think of it in terms of what I was doing when communicating with someone until probably recently, because what started happening was, and it's what brought us up on the pod, on our show here, was that I started seeing a trend with the highest level people that were really high functioners. And when I say functioners, it's people that have this high level of being able to connect with others, were the ones that were, and woo, I know I got some hair in my eyes on woo is, and again, there's no real definition. It's woo. It's a combination of a high level of self-awareness, which requires a lot of humility, but at the same time, it encompasses a lot of curiosity, which you talked about, as well as a knowledge that here's a good way to put it. So we can keep it agnostic as well as spiritual for everyone who wants it. A way that we can connect at a deeper level with another human being.
Okay.
I like it. There's a couple of good questions coming, which we are going to get to, some of which I've actually already got on the list. But what I'm going to do, I want to steer us back towards the FBI at the moment.
I was just about to make that bridge.
Brilliant. Oh, have I jumped? Is it your
turn? No. Make the bridge.
That's okay. Brilliant. So what I was going to do, I was going to ask the question, what would surprise most people in a day in the life of an FBI agent? What do you think would be that thing that?
I don't know if it's surprising, but I think everyone knows how boring it is. Oh my gosh. So I'd say the biggest frustration and that's surprising is the amount of time you spend dealing with management to get approval to do something of significance. That is, most of the day is spent strategizing how to get to yes. And so, I mean, when I did a behavioral analysis for a case agent anywhere in the field, the first thing we did was strategize how to get the management to approve the operation that we're suggesting to the case agent. So it's understanding. So most of the day for the agents that are highly functional, they're highly functional because they know how they need to work with management to get management on board to allow the mission to go forward. So it protects their careers as well as accomplishes the mission. Because some people in most organizations, there's fear of doing something because it could go wrong. And if there's fear of something going wrong, people won't want to prove it. And so, especially in the world, if criminal work is different, but in the world of counterintelligence, you have to be proactive, and proactive requires risk. And people that are career oriented have a hard time with the risk sometimes.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I've worked for different government agencies all around the world and different governments and departments and everything. And just getting them to talk to each other is hard enough. Never mind actually getting approval for anything. I was pretty lucky with the one that I worked with. One section I worked for. My boss, his theory was it's better to seek forgiveness than permission. Go and do it. Then afterwards, if I say no, then I can shout at you and kind of we'll get it over and done with. And
then you have the ones that say that but don't actually do that.
Yeah, no, he was pretty good, to be fair. So, but yeah, there are them as well. So, but yeah, he said if you ask me before, I'm going to say no. Whereas if you do it and then kind of come back to me and tell me you've done it, then I'll shout at you and we'll sit down, have a coffee, and job done, and move on. So, but yeah, I love that. So, it doesn't surprise me, but may surprise some. But it does lead me to the next question. And Lena's already agreed I can ask these two in a row, which is, what would surprise most people in the average day of the life of Robin Dreeke?
I don't know, because I think I'm pretty transparent. Day in life of me, I think I live a pretty boring. How routine I am is a good one. I am pretty routine.
Done that too.
Yeah. So my day, so it really depends on at what point in my life and career. When I was in New York, my day in a life in New York was different every day. I did a lot of undercover work. I was undercover certified. I went to so here's a crazy day in the life of Robin Dreeke in New York. This was not typical, but something I was always on the edge of getting really in really big trouble. And so I had only a couple years in the FBI at the time, and I worked against the GRU, Russian military intelligence, and my job was to recruit them. And I had senior guys on the squad, and I was a junior guy. And then we had all these other squads around us that worked other targets. And we had the Chinese target, we had Cubans, we had rest of the world squads. We had all these squads that had their focus. Anyway, around Christmas time of probably my second or third year in New York, in the New York field office, Lower Manhattan, I hear about the Chinese mission to the United Nations has a holiday reception every year. And there's going to be, and all the military attaches, which are spies, are at this military reception. And I was talking to a guy on the Chinese squad, a senior guy, and he goes, "Dude, you should just show up. No one ever checks invites." I was like, "Well, that sounds like a good idea." Yeah. And so I ginned up a fake business card, gave myself a fake name, put my Marine Corps emblem on my lapel, and I walked in the front door of the Chinese mission to the United Nations just as a party crasher. And I made contact with a couple GRU officers, a couple Chinese intel officers, and there's a couple agents there that were actually there legitimately on liaison, looking at me walking in the front door like, what the hell is this guy doing here? I just freaking crashed. And I actually had a couple I had great interactions. So yeah, that was one day in a life. Then I get in trouble the next day for crashing a party. I said, he told me to go in. What the hell? Never say anything to a Marine that's mission oriented, because if you give me the idea and you say I'm going. So yeah, that was my first experience with doing undercover work, where I was not allowed to do undercover work.
Wow,
that was a hoot.
I love it. I like that.
That was a good one.
So, Lena, did you want to go with another one? Or?
Yeah. So I'm trying to read the comments as well. Rick, absolutely yes. You incorporate elicitation techniques in interrogation. You do not want to constantly bombard poor Robin here with interrogative after interrogative. It's going to upset him, maybe make him feel a little guarded. So you always want to maintain that safe, comfortable environment for somebody. So you sprinkle in elicitation techniques as well. And Linda, it is, my color of my lipstick is Lady Gaga's House Lambs, and it's crimson matte. So, and it does not come off. Just doesn't come off. Anyway, okay. So Robin, this is a deep question. What made you successful as a spy recruiter?
I'm surrounded by greatness. I had a lot of great role models. That was really it. My desire. So I had a desire for the mission. I loved what we did. I loved talking to people. And I mean, it was an unusual mission. I mean, the excitement you get when you're about to pitch an intelligence officer from a foreign country, I mean, that is some pretty cool shit. So it was exciting, but it was great to be surrounded by real Jedi Masters. I mean, when I got to my squad in New York, there's about 10 or 12 of us on a squad, I guess. I'm just guessing numbers. And we had about 4 or 5, if not a few more, that had like 20, 25 years in the FBI all in that squad. They were really, really, really good at what we did. Whether it was recruitment operations, which is our number one thing we did all the time, but we did a lot of double agent operations. We did a lot of false flags. We monitored a lot of double, like we recorded fake rocks and dead drops and you name it that the GRU was running. I mean, we did a lot of stuff. If it's in the world of counterintelligence and spy stuff, my squad did it. And I was part of it. And it's because we had senior guys when I got there that had been doing it for decades. I mean, decades. And we had high level recruitments that I was involved in. So I was successful because of them. They were much more successful than I ever was.
Okay, Gav, do you mind if I ask a follow on?
Yeah, carry on.
Okay, so
Oh, Robin, seems so sick I am.
I'm going to try
sick.
to quiet your
I feel
home.
fine. My voice is failing. I'm fine though.
You just sound like you have a frog. You sound like you partied too hard last night.
Yeah, not me. Got my coffee.
Right. Yes, and well, you should be drinking your reishi mushroom tea, but that's another story. Anyway, so working with all these people, being surrounded by greatness, those are your words, as you said, being involved with these experts, right? So obviously you're part of this amazing team. So my question to you, and you'll know this question and be very familiar with it, is what did they see in you?
Wild man.
Really?
I hadn't learned how to control it yet. I was too aggressive sometimes. So so my Jedi Master in the book, his name's Jesse Thorne, in life his name's John. John and I are very close. We spent 9/11 together, and for months after we commuted down together to Ground Zero. He's one of the ones that became close friends with me, and he saw my passion and my aggression, and yet he had to help me temper it because I was way too over the top with go, 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 go. I wasn't matching tempos very well. So that's what they saw. They saw hyper aggression, and it can look like recklessness. Everything I did was thought out, but that's what it looked like. That's what they saw. They didn't see greatness then. I don't think so.
What was the seed for the aggression?
Say again.
What do you think was the seed for the aggression?
My tempo. When you're a type A, so type A, when someone defines someone as intense, what intensity is your tempo's out of sync with everyone around you. That's it. So my tempo was out of sync. I was just way too energized. So I was just way too energized to be sitting. I didn't have patience.
So when exactly, if you can remember, when exactly did you recognize that your tempo was out of sync?
Around the same time. Okay. I've always been aware when I'm off-putting. And so if I become off-putting, I'm like, damn it, and I started adjusting. So I pretty much around the same time I started adjusting. By then it was too late on a few things, on a few operations, but I tried again anyway. But again, in this world, you don't have that many opportunities and that many shots. And so I was trying to take as many shots as I possibly could.
Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha.
I'll let you take the next one. There might be a little surprise coming.
Ooh, it's a surprise. Okay, so speaking of that, Robin, is there any point that you can remember looking back, and I'm going to be asking an interrogative question. Think of that point, and then I would love to know what you learned from recognizing that you were too aggressive or too high tempo. What did you take out of that? What did you learn?
To not be. There was probably the case I talk about most is when we had a new confidential human source that had been one of ours in the past. who had been a source for another agent on the squad, and he is in touch with one of the intelligence officers, and he had lost contact because the intelligence officer left town. The handling agent transferred anyway. New IO, new intelligence officer comes in, picks up the relationship with the former confidential human source. So it's a good opportunity to reopen and get information. And so I reached out to the former case agent, the handler, and said, hey, would you think this individual would mind having a relationship again? He goes, no, he's a great guy. I got along great with him. Here's his number. Reach out and we'll do an intro. And we did that. And at that point, I was doing well. I loved working confidential human sources, but I was so focused on my agenda that I wasn't paying attention to his agenda and his tempo, and I totally blew it out of the water. And I thought we had a great first meeting, and he wouldn't ever talk to me again. And so I closed him and went with my hand in my hat, hat in hand, and said to my boss, we got to close the guy down. And he goes, no, you're the source guy. And he goes, no, I blew this one completely. So that's when I really started focusing harder on not what I'm looking to talk about. What do they want to talk about?
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for sharing that and being so humble.
Oh, I've tons of lots of great humility.
Big shout out to Eric Hunley, who has just joined us. Eric, check your Facebook Messenger inbox, buddy. And thank you for coming over. And thank you for everyone who come over from Eric's show. The numbers have just gone up, so it's nice to see you all here. Yeah, for those who don't know what's happening, we are just gently grilling Robin. We're just turning up the temperature a little bit to find out the day in the life of an FBI spy recruiter. So thanks to everybody. Yep. There was a brilliant question that came up. I think it was Linda who said it earlier on, and asked about do people feel guarded around you knowing that you're a former FBI? However, I want to ask you that one, but I'm equally wanting to ask you another one I spotted, which was, have any of your undercover lives ever overlapped with your own, like your working life and your personal life? Have you ever gone to a restaurant and somebody's called you by an alias and you go, oh, wasn't meant to be here, and they remember me as somebody I'm not, or anything along those lines? Any stories you got there that you might be able to share with us?
Yeah, it was funny a couple times. So I only did undercover work in New York. Right. When I left New York, because you had to, because you weren't allowed to talk to intelligence officers as FBI. It's illegal. And State Department has a freak show on you. But so I did a lot of undercover work there. I remember the first time after I went through undercover school, you come up with this alias. And I remember the first time, at the time, my kids were very small. And I said to myself, all right, I'm going to be married, but be separated so I can kind of be in this nebulous area and I won't have kids. And so that's how I'm going to roll. So I don't have to talk about my kids. I can protect my family. And I remember the first time I sit down with someone at a meeting that we're at a diplomatic function, and you go to have a conversation. And for the first time, I tried cutting my family and my kids out of my conversation and dialogue. I was like, I got nothing to talk about. Because like they're such a big part of my life. It was really funny. And that's what I use as a lot of bonding anyway with communication, is that. So I learned rapidly to just be who you are and accentuate smaller things, make them higher, tamp down bigger things, that you don't want to disclose. But when I was doing undercover work, I remained true name. Well, not true. I remained true life. I accentuated certain things. I tamped down. So it's basically method acting is what I was doing. I would live very similar to the life I was portraying. Now, bumping into people, never in New York when I was doing that work. But first time that happened here in Fredericksburg quite a few times, because my last couple of years before I retired, I help protect my own town here because we have like 600 clear defense contractors. And so you work a lot with them. And I've literally had confidential human sources knocking on my front door, dropping off their daughters for a sleepover with my daughter.
Wow.
So like, hey, I guess your daughter's safe tonight. So luckily I don't, when you work in the world of counterintelligence, you deal with really high level, smart, intelligent people that are good people. Because I saw one of the questions before earlier was someone had asked if I'm still in contact or friendly with any of the people I'd recruited or worked with. Yeah. Confidential human sources, definitely. Not all, some fall off over time, but a lot of them, especially locally here, I am guaranteed, because these are real relationships. They're real people that are just being patriots, and so you're just working together. And then, as much as the CIA lets you maintain contact, I have contact with a few that I worked with while they were cooperating with us. But no, good, very good people I worked with. I was very fortunate. I didn't work with slimes at all. Very fortunate.
Yeah, always a bonus. I've worked with both ends of the spectrum, and yeah, I know.
So here's an interesting side story, though. This actually kind of goes into Lena's world a little bit. So before 9/11, the Bureau was all one under National Security Division. So we were part of terrorism. So counterterrorism and counterintelligence was all under one house. SAC John O'Neill, who died in the World Trade Center, he was my SAC in New York like 2 weeks before he had died in the Trade Center. And so what would happen was New York, we had a lot of terrorists that were going through the Southern District of New York for prosecution. So I babysat a lot of bin Laden's people that we had in safe houses and stuff. And man, you want to talk about boring work. So yeah, babysitting people in New York was a real hootenanny.
We may have met some same people.
Yep. Knowing what you did, yeah, they went from me down to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fun stuff.
Yep.
Is it my turn to ask a question, Gav?
Yeah, it's a good one just coming from Sam, though. I want to come back to that in a minute as well.
Okay.
So do you want to go first?
Yeah, well, so I had a really good one, and I can't remember who it was from. It was in the comments, but then I had a great one that I wanted to follow up with. So I think I'll do my follow-up first, and then the one I saw in the comment. And my follow-up, Robin, is you love a good conversation. And so when you were bumping, like the first conversation that you would have in that recruitment process, what was that conversation about?
Each one of them is different.
Okay.
Just because every individual's every case is a different operation. Like the first time I bumped into a code clerk that I had been doing a smile campaign with for 6 months, going in the opposite direction of him walking with his wife on 92nd Street in New York City was Zdravstvuyte, Vyacheslav. It was just like, hello, Vyacheslav. And the fact that I even said that in horrible Russian, he knew exactly who I was and he ran away. So that's how that conversation started.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay.
Then there's ones where I knew someone was having a challenging time paying, helping take care of his family. So the conversation, so generally these things they're brokered by a third party because they're never a cold call. And then conversation starts out with, basically an understanding that they have a pain point that we want to have a dialogue about. Like, I understand that, you're having some challenges with insulin for your child. I understand, you're having, that you're looking for some different types of options for retirement for your family. But that's generally after, like you start out with the typical opener for anything. So what's on your mind? Just what's on your mind. And then they'll let them lead the conversation.
And how long did it take from that, what's on your mind, to, hey, do you want to come work for me?
So I never asked, do you want to come work for me? Okay. Because that's not a choice. I would say, listen, there's a lot of things that you have priorities around, and I have some different ways you can have some resources to serve those priorities. There's a lot of investors from different parts of the world, and a lot of them are actually from the parts of the world you're in. They're looking for ground truth. And ground truth is basically in the form of questions that, some are sensitive and some aren't so sensitive. Some questions are coming from government-related entities, and some are coming from the private sector. The private sector generally doesn't pay as much or not as consistent, but the government clients generally pay a little bit more, and they're a little more consistent with us. What kind of questions and what kind of things do you want to work out? That's a pitch.
Oh.
That's empowering them with choice, whether they want to have a fig leaf or not a fig leaf. That's saying that, hey, there's going to be some easy softball questions that we'll still pay you money for, but if you want to get more sensitive, we'll escalate it. You tell me what you want, and we'll start the process.
And I love that you leave off the option of not doing it. I love it. And it's
if you're talking to me, you want, because if you're talking to me, you're inkling. But now here's what's also good too. If none of this sounds good, let's just finish the beer and then just keep my card. I'll be back in touch.
Oh my God. I love that. Okay,
yeah,
Gav, Yeah, that was brilliant. I'm going to do that one question from the comments, and I can't remember who it came from, but the question was, do you ever get compassion fatigue? And then I'm done.
Compassion fatigue. Well,
Mhm.
compassion is the action of empathy plus action. So taking action on empathy. No, so I'm pretty selective with the amount of action I'm going to take. Because I don't have a huge amount of people in the circle of my life. But now, if you meant empathy fatigue, no. I find it's incredibly invigorating to understand someone else. I'm invigorated by asking questions and being curious and finding out about others. So no, I don't get fatigued. I don't get fatigued on the empathy part of it. No.
All right. Thank you. Gav, over to you.
Okay. I am. Oh, where am I with my list? Oh no, man. So many great questions come in as well. So I'm gonna. What I'm gonna do. I'm gonna ask one for Brian, which is Robin. Any just dangerous moments in your line of work?
Dangerous moments? Not really. Years ago, our defectors didn't really. Putin was not hey, once you defected, it's kind of a gentleman's club, and they kind of just leave you alone. In recent years, we've seen more of them trying to track them down, and I wouldn't consider myself ever in a dangerous thing than anything I've done, but I mean, you never know. That's the best way I can put it. You never know. Probably the most dangerous stuff I ever did was when you get to New York and you're first assigned there. Before you get assigned to your permanent squad, you go through a rotation, and part of the rotation is about 3 months on surveillance. And when I did my 3 months on surveillance up there, because there's so many different surveillance squads, I was on a terrorism surveillance squad, and you're following Lincoln town cars and taxi cabs all to 3 airports, all through all the 5 boroughs. And you're parking in really seedy, horrible places where people are doing really bad things while you're trying to follow terrorists around or potential terrorists around. So that was probably the dangerous part, was the stuff leading up to doing the spy stuff. Spy stuff wasn't dangerous, though.
Yeah, I was going to say going to New York on its own can be dangerous in some parts, can't it? So,
I never. When I was there, it was fine.
Yeah, well, you know how to look after yourself.
Dangerous thing was when road rage. People with road rage down there, you had to be careful of that. And I watched some people lose their crap on people, like smashing windshields with broom handles and stuff like that. Oh yeah, it was crazy. That place is just nuts.
Yeah. I think when I was in Miami, I was amazed at like they don't drive in Miami. They aim. They just they just fire off their car in a direction and kind of, they don't pick a gap, they make one. Yeah, traffic was wild in Miami.
Yeah, there's a rule when you drive in New York City. It's basically yellow cabs. As long as you have about half a car length in front of them, you can cut in front of them. They have to be town cars. You got to be about 3/4 of the length in front of them. But yeah, it's kind of accepted.
Yeah,
not like a super big deal.
Yeah. So how long would you spend roughly researching a target if you got your eye on somebody, or I don't know what you would call them, a target or whatever, but how long would you spend doing your background and research on them before you started the Smile campaign, as you called it?
Boy, that is all over the board. That's a great question. That depends on a lot of different factors. The first factor is obviously access. Some of these people, the intelligence officers, place themselves in situations where they only have contact with the people they've initiated contact with. And so the people they initiate contact with are their vetted sources. And so trying to get access to them, it's rough, very, very rough. If you even know who they are. So getting access to your intelligence officers is the first hurdle. To find out information about them, to gather information about them. You can, try to get what they're doing on their credit cards. You can try to, see what they're doing on their cell phones, internet searches. It's very limited though, because they're intelligence officers. They're used to working in the black, so that no one can see what they're doing. So the first obstacle is, can I get access in some way? And then it comes down to, what are you looking for? Seriously, people there's no, I've worked a decent number of recruitment cases, and out of all the recruitment cases that I've been on, not one was ever one that said, "Oh yeah, this guy's recruitable." But there was something very interesting about a few of them, and this is what I recommended to a group at JCTA, Joint Counterintelligence Training Center, a while ago. The ones that wound up cooperating were the ones that actually had been planning it for years. Most of them that are going to come over have been planning this for years. It's not like a done on a whim. You know, you don't risk your family's life on a, hey, I had a bad day at work, let's just try this. These are like planned out for years and years and years. And so part of that planning is they strategize how to create a gap of time so that if they do ever actually cooperate with U.S. intelligence, no one will ever notice that there's a spike in their behavior from their side. And so the best thing to do is kind of look for an individual / couple who creates a routine gap of time where they're not observed by any of their own people for 5 to 6 hours on a weekend. That's what I'd be looking for. Right. Because that's someone who now is creating a gap for some reason. They're having secret place for some reason. So that's who I'd be looking at, because all the other indicators, you have no idea what's going on in here. Very, very, very rarely. Also, if someone has family hostages back in Moscow or in China or wherever they're from, you know, if someone has family back home that they're close to, don't even bother. I wouldn't say I wouldn't bother, but they're not gonna defect. They might want to try to work in place potentially, but defection, no. Right.
Did you ever have much support off other agencies? I mean, you know,
very closely all the time.
Yeah.
We did a lot of joint ops with the Brits, MI5 and 6 in New York. Did a lot with the agency, did a lot with the Aussies, the Kiwis, Canadians, you know, so every agency has its own kind of nuances and political things I got to go through. I probably did more ops with the UK than anyone else.
Right. And what about like other American agencies? You know, if you needed information of, say, you know, the NSA or
yeah.
It's
go through process at headquarters, get questions answered by NSA agencies. Generally, there's a local station that generally will handle offices that's kind of assigned. So you'll have a local, what's called NR officer for the agency that we liaison with. So basically, when you get to your counterintelligence squad, no matter where you are, you're kind of introduced to who our liaisons are with NCIS, agency, OSI if they're in the area, Army Intel if they're in the area. So we generally, like when I was in Fredericksburg here, I formed a working group. So once a month we get together. So all the agencies that are working the Intel stuff, we got together, kind of shared, you know, what we're working on, how can we be resources for each other. So, because everyone's got kind of different resources that they can do and bring to bear for each other. So you just form relationships and you cooperate. Very common everywhere I went.
Brilliant. Lena?
So what is the biggest misconception people have about you or about what you did as a spy recruiter?
I don't know. What do you think it is?
Biggest myth out there. Like, so as an interrogator, I can tell you what it is.
Oh, yeah. So people that know me know it's not that way, but I think most of it is that they think it's all this James Bondsy subterfuge and manipulation and all that garbage. No. It's me. And the greatest recruiters of spies are the most humble, unassuming people you'd ever meet in the world. They're beautiful human beings that you'd want to have in your life, because they just make it all about you.
I love that. And a quick follow-up. What was the longest relationship that you had with a recruited spy?
Was recruited or attempted recruited?
Oh, well, you choose.
I'll give you both. Okay. So I've known a few for my entire career. Okay. And there's one case that I was working from the day I got to New York till I retired.
Wow.
So we're talking 20 years, 22 years of continual work. And I mean, I watched him rise through the ranks, and I tried every time he came with an earshot.
Wow.
Never burn a bridge.
Yeah, that's
definitely not
true.
Because it also goes to your brand. You know, it's you know, you as a personal brand, you as an organizational brand. A good friend of mine, Steve, we do this thing called Lighthouse. So recruitment is proactive because you want to seek out people that would know things. But at the same time, you want to be a lighthouse and a beacon of someone's people would want to come to. And so if you are projecting like me, the way I do my podcast, the way I interact with y'all, it's part of my lighthouse. Is like people know me. I'm very transparent, but I'm also very trustworthy, but also have connections. And so I can be someone that, hey, I'll get you someplace safe, and you can have a conversation and dialogue with someone that can solve some pain points in your life. And so it's 360 all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's for any aspect of life. That's what Trading Networks is.
Oh, I love that. I love your lighthouse analogy. I have to use that. It's going to be a theme. It's got to come up because I also love lighthouses in the water. And Gavin, if you don't mind, a really quick follow-up.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't want to monopolize.
No, I'm having a couple of technical difficulties with the laptop. I'm trying to sort out. So yeah, I'm trying to keep us on the air.
Okay. So going with the lighthouse theory, Robin, what do you think that people are most attracted to you by? What do you think attracts them the most?
To me?
Yeah. What do you give off? What's your beacon?
I hope it's trust.
Mm-hmm.
Non-judgmental curiosity and trust. That's what I hope it is. I don't know. Reversing the optic is challenging. So I know what I hope it is. I hear that sometimes. So I hope that's it. Because if you trust someone with your life, then you can trust them with pretty much anything. So I hope that's it. Transparency, openness, vulnerability, trust. I mean, I try to be. I don't even try to be. I'm very congruent with all my behaviors. As people see me here, as you all know, there's no different with me anywhere. The only difference between me here on the podcast is I talk less on the podcast than I am right now. Because I tried to.
Yeah, how are you finding this? Yeah, this is different for you, isn't it? It's alien territory. It's normally like you asking the questions.
No, so that's interesting too. So for years before I started the podcast, I was always the guy being interviewed on podcasts, and so it was a step in the direction of more humility. Stop talking, start listening more. No doubt.
There's a great question in the audience from Scott. Okay, it's technical. I love it though. Okay, so here it is.
Is this the one of Scott?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. Okay, Robin, this one may make you think a bit. Take all the time you need. I'm going to read what Scott wrote. Can you share any sanitized examples of where the disparity between a target's digital footprint and their actual character or actions really surprised you?
The only thing that I'd say no-ish. There were quite a few cases though. And this is something you discover about human beings when you're doing deep dives on people's lives to try to, uncover a spy or recruit a spy, is you really creep in places I call secret place. And where secret place lies, you see people doing things that they'd be ashamed to share with the rest of the world. Whether it's fetishes, hey Eric, whether it's fetishes or proclivities that are outside the mainstream. And so people would put a face on in one part of their lives, but yet you saw the part of their life that they wanted to keep hidden from the rest of the world. So I saw that quite frequently.
Okay.
It's probably what gave me the ability to never be surprised anymore by, and never reacting when someone tells you something that's a little off the beaten path, that seems a little odd. That I had someone the other day on a call with me said, you play the poker face really well when I'm dropping things on you that seem a little unusual, because nothing to me is unusual. I've seen a lot of crazy things. And so nothing to me is unusual. It just, every time I hear something that's a little unusual, makes me curious. Wow. What makes you want to do that? What was the first time you decided you wanted to try that? Something, I don't know what it is, but it's so that's it. So, okay. So nothing too bizarre. Well, they're bizarre, but nothing too like I was shocked. It was like, it's pretty common that you see people have two lives.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining us, Eric. So we're grilling Robin.
Oh yeah, sure. I thought it was funny, Rob. You were talking about not stressing anything, Robin. It's like when I came here, like, hey, Eric. So yeah, it fit perfectly with your scenario. I'm like this casual.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's supposed to be here. Yeah,
There
whatever.
he is. There he is. Eric.
I'm like, ooh.
We've even
There-
the tiles out as well now. We've got a nice even number.
Yeah, it's funny. When I was writing my last book, Sizing People Up, my writer that I worked with, Cam Stouth, there was a line in there where he said something about me sweating bullets. And I go, you got to take that out. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, I don't sweat bullets. I don't stress. I just work the problem. You know, if you're once you're confronted with a new challenge, you just work the challenge. It's nothing. Now I don't. It's not that I don't get disappointed. I don't get frustrated. I don't get angry. But I just work I immediately go into work the problem mode. And so if something new or someone's background kind of hits you, you're like, huh, that's interesting. What are we going to do about that? Again, that question, what, not why. Why makes you emotional? What makes you solve the problem?
And is that something you learned to do, or is that something that that was just a natural ability that you were born with and had growing up, or you know, did you say, was it a conscious decision to say, no, do you know what? I'm not going to stress. I'm just going to figure it out.
I think I'm pulling up the picture. I think I showed it last week. It's something I grew up with. So when I was in seventh grade, our landlord on the house said they're going to raise the rent to fix the furnace. And so we had to heat the house all by wood. And so we installed a wood burning stove. And so I was an only child, and there I am in seventh grade cutting the wood to heat the house, prepping for the winter. And so it was, what are you going to do? Solve the problem. You want to be warm, cut wood. So I just kind of had that do it mentality. Just don't whine about it, because your option is freeze.
Yeah.
What are your parents like?
Say again?
What are your parents like?
Then or now? Sorry.
At the time, did you get that from internalization, or did you have them as examples that they taught you?
Yes-ish. Yes-ish. Alcoholic family. So absenteeism-ish, but also never. I was very fortunate in the fact that neither of my parents ever portrayed the victim. And so it was always just like, we didn't have any money compared to anyone around us, but they never said, they never said, and they don't deserve that, or we deserve more than that. It was never that. It was just like, what are you going to do? It's just got to do something. So it was that's the mentality I was exposed to, was just do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's a constant forward motion.
Yeah, so I was never a victim. I've never felt like a victim, and I thought I had a great childhood until I reflected back on that trauma. I was like, wow, that's a pretty good mess, just like everyone.
Yeah. Oh well. Right, Eric, did you want to grill Robin a little bit more? Is there anything that you wanted to kind of?
No, I just interrupted. I don't.
Yeah, no. I love that.
I have no context.
So I just wondered if there was anything you ever wanted to know, like FBI wise, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
If there was anything there.
Not offhand. I have interviewed him before.
I know. Yeah.
Eric's talked to more people than I have about FBI, probably.
This is where normally I'd say, like, everybody who's not like kind of already subscribed to Eric's channel, go over and do it now. But I think like everybody on here has heard of you, so it's not.
I know. Eric's episode's coming up on, I think it's the 21st. I'm releasing Eric's that I've interviewed Eric, so I'm excited about that one.
Oh yeah,
okay.
That'll be a good one. Look out for that, guys.
Hey, listen, I'm up for being interviewed by all of you, by the way, because my new book is coming out on the 15th.
Well, we'll set it up. I mean,
yeah, awesome, Eric. Thank you. I was gonna.
I gotta get that one too for you.
But you're here.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, especially these Thursday panels that I do work well for that kind of thing. You could have been on a couple of weeks ago, but somebody wasn't there. No.
I think that was when I had COVID. Right.
Oh, good times.
I had it rough. Yeah.
Did I ever get angry at anyone I was working with? Routinely. Routinely. They frustrated the living hell out of me until I learned that doesn't work.
Oh.
How good was Quantico for preparing you for actually working in the field? I mean, I know I've taught people in the security industry, and I've seen some of the kind of the lessons you're meant to deliver. And sometimes you'll be saying, "Look, this is what I've got to teach you. This is what you're going to need to pass the exam." But in reality, you'll probably never use this because it's never like that. What was Quantico similar to that, or was it actually pretty on the ball with the training and a lot of what you received was useful?
So my time at Quantico was complete waste. The firearms were really good.
Okay. So for anybody who doesn't know, Quantico is where FBI get trained.
So when I went through out of the, I don't know, were there 4 months, 3 months? I don't even remember how long it was. Most of the time you're learning about how to do criminal work. And we had 3 days of counterintelligence training. And so, and even though it's a big part of what the FBI does, they weren't really focused on it back then when I went through. And so when I got to New York, I didn't even know what the counterintelligence was. I got assigned the squad because I went to firearms up in New York with a couple of guys that were on the GRU squad. They said, "You ought to come to our squad." I go, "Really? What are you guys doing?" He goes, "Well, we recruit GRU officers." I go, "What the hell's a GRU?" And they said, I said, "That sounds like fun. I'll try that." And I petitioned to get on a squad, and they had a vacancy, and I got on a squad. And then I went to our training for more advanced training. But, when you're doing this kind of stuff, training is fantastic to give you a baseline. But as you all know, you need the reps in the field to really put it into practice, and you need the mentors and guides to be with you. And the biggest thing is people underestimate the power of role playing. Every time I was getting ready to do a pitch on someone, my supervisor in New York was a great, great guy. And even everyone I worked with, he goes, I'd say, "All right, so I'm about to have this conversation with so-and-so tonight." And he goes, "All right, what are you going to say?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to talk about this." He goes, No. What are you going to say?" He goes, "Say it to me now." And so we created an entire list of protests, what we call it. If we had like 50 protests. How did you know I was going to be here? Are you following me? Are you on my cell phone? We have all these lists of prepared responses in protest of anything someone would say that we rehearsed all the time, always working on because what are we trying to do all the time? Make them feel safe.
Yeah.
So we
Sounds
practice
like
that
sales
all the time. Oh, it's 100%. It is sales. Everything in life is. You're saying, "I am the safe person that you need in your life to solve your problem."
Yeah, I love that. That's brilliant because if you've got that automated response,
Game of Thrones
prepared. I remember years ago, I gave a friend of mine some advice because he was constantly getting into trouble with his wife, and it's because the female and male minds and brains have worked very differently. And I've said this before that men have got lots and lots and lots of different rooms. And women's is more open plan, and this isn't anything sexist. This is just like kind of the way it all works. And what women don't understand is that us men, we have a nothing room, and we can go in there and we can literally be thinking about nothing. We're driving on the freeway, and that question comes up: "What are you thinking about?"
Nothing.
Right? And of course, men's automatic response is nothing. And because women don't understand the nothing room, all of a sudden they're like, "He's thinking about other women," or whatever the case may be. So it gets a bit like kind of can get out of hand unnecessarily. So what I advised him to do.
Gavin's tap dancing, because sometimes the nothing room is, "I'm really not going to tell her that dress is awful."
Right?
Yeah. So
so what is it? "Oh, nothing," and then we align a lot to a quote nothing room. It's not really nothing. Sorry to out you, Gavin, but
nah, I've got a nothing room. I can be neutral. But no, I said I've 3 automated responses.
Don't worry, Helen will never find out. She has no idea anything
No
I just
said. But yeah, it works if you've got something planned to say.
Yeah. So in interrogation world, I call it the what ifs, right? And, and I love your protests, Robin, but that's what I dealt with. What if they say, "I'm not talking, it's in my file"? What if they do this? What if they blah, blah, and fill in the blank with 20 things and prepare for it and let the words come out of your mouth. So I love that your supervisor said, "No, say it to me." I do that for students. So I do that mentoring program, and they'll say, and I'll ask them, "Well, what are you going to say?" "Well, I'll talk." I'm like, no. What are you going to say? I want you to say it. Yeah.
Yep. Nothing beats the reps, real reps.
Yeah, definitely.
And yes, I'm sorry, Linda. I'm actually I'm hardwired. So I do have good signal. That I'm hardwired into my laptop.
Might be me. My laptop's on its last legs.
I've got
Speaking of booting signal, 56 people are watching. If there's any of you who are not subscribed to this channel for Gavin, he's trying to get to 500, folks. He's at 476, it looks like.
Oh,
Yeah,
We're getting really close. And if you can get him to 500, that gives him a community tab so then he can reach out to people and say, hey, I've got a show coming up, or hey, this is going on. So there's a tangible benefit to him. So if you haven't considered doing it or you haven't subscribed now, please consider it. I know he'll appreciate it.
Yay.
That'd be fantastic. Thank you. And then we can ask you guys what you want and provide. Brilliant. Right. I'm gonna give you the 1 hour, 4 minutes and 56 seconds question, Robin. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What would you like to be known for?
I like the one earlier, kindness and curiosity.
Kindness and curiosity. Yeah. What about in like 50 years from now, 100 years from now, when we're talking back and saying, you know, when we're at the Robin Dreeke statues in the, you know, what would you like the crowds to say?
Good father.
Good father.
That's it. That's it. I'm pretty simple. I know my place in the universe.
Someone said earlier, by the way, that where is it? They said you'd make a brilliant protagonist.
Game of Thrones character.
Sorry, Game of Thrones character. Yeah, that was the one.
Oh yeah, is that a good thing?
Well, I don't know.
I've never watched it.
Maybe he doesn't want to be a protagonist. Maybe he wants to be an antagonist. I mean, come on. Bad guys
hair?
are fun.
It's the hair, right?
Well, it's the fact that you've got the Dick Clark looks, okay?
Is that what it is?
Nobody can tell if you're 25 or 55.
And actually, November 8th, I turned 54. Yep.
Oh, look at that.
Couple days. Yep.
Yeah, let's put it this way. He's older than I am, and he looks much younger than I do.
Very kind.
So he also looks like an actor. And Ray said, it's driving me crazy. He looks like someone. I know who you remind me of, but I'm not going to say it yet. Robin, who do you look like?
I've had a bunch over the years.
Okay. What are they?
I've had Tom Cruise a bunch when I was younger, because we're roughly the same body type, same everything. I've had that. Years ago, I used to have Kevin Bacon now and then. When Kevin Bacon played a Marine a few times. I can't think of anything else though.
Hold on, we can't go any further before we do that, because out of everybody on this panel or this in the screen right now, there's only one person who's a dead ringer for somebody else, or actually probably even more attractive than their Hollywood counterpart.
Not then.
So yes, Lena definitely resembles Jennifer Aniston.
Oh yeah,
clearly. I mean, it's slightly more attractive than Jennifer Aniston, actually.
A lot.
Thank you. That's a huge compliment, because I think she's beautiful. I have her chin. We have both got pointy chins, and our eyes. Yeah, I could go on and on, but yeah.
Yeah, I thought Eric was going down the road of me looking like Brad Pitt then as well. What can I say?
Bender Pitt?
Say it again?
Bender Pitt?
Yeah, more than likely. Lena, did you want to? Because we're over the hour. I don't.
No,
mind.
who's the actor? You got to fill it in for Robin. Everybody wants to know.
No, I feel bad now, because I don't want you to.
No, you said I remember you said Martin Short once.
Yes, that's it, Martin Short. You remind me of Martin Short. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's that wide smile. It's the hair. Yeah. Absolutely. And he's always like upbeat, positive, high energy.
True that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So see, it's a compliment.
Okay. Thank you. Very kind.
Well, I'm out of questions, which is amazing as an interrogator, but I know we are at the hour. So Gavin, I'm going to just kick it over to you, or if Robin has anything or Eric has anything to say.
Oh, thanks. I hope. And again, if anyone has anything else that we didn't answer here that is in the chat, because we have I do with my own stunts also. Yes. Please, reach out to me, because I'm as you all see, I'm an open book. I'm very transparent about everything. And also, don't forget, my premieres every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for my YouTube channel, for my podcast as well. We always have a nice audience, which is generally our audience, which is a nice family we have here between the four of us. So
Gavin will put it in the description, right, Gavin? I don't see
I
it.
will. I'll be pestering you to show me how to do it afterwards. And the Eric's podcast, did you say that was on the 21st?
Something like that. I don't know.
oh yeah, my release of his.
Yeah.
I got a Leith Dennis coming up on Monday. She is the social engineer. She is the most amazing woman social engineer in the entire world. She won DEF CON's Black Hat. I mean, she won DEF CON's elicitation stuff a couple years ago.
So
She's on Monday. Then I have, so it's a Leith, and then Eric's after her. So yeah, so Eric, you're on the 14th, I think. Yeah, 14th.
Right. Brilliant. And Lena, you've got a couple of guests coming up as well, haven't you?
yeah. So for our TCG tribe, and if you're not part of our private Facebook group, the Congruency Group, TCG Tribe, join it, because every fortnight we go live in there, and we have my dearest friend, Ali Dusu, who runs her own clubhouse room called Embrace the Woo. Amazing work in mindfulness and thought work and law manifestation and all that kind of stuff. Well, she's going to come on with Gav and Robin, and we're going to talk all things woo. Like, she's the woo queen. She knows, oh gosh, she got trained by Martha Beck, and just the list goes on. She brings so much. So she's going to be on the 17th. And then on the 10th, you guys, we're bringing back Mr. Pyle. So he's going to be on. He's our guest on November 10th. And then on December 1st, I have another dear friend of mine, Joanna Kleinman. And she is a life coach, published author. She does amazing retreats, and she is going to talk about our resiliency thread and overcoming self-sabotaging behaviors and all that kind of stuff, and the work that she does with her clients and people.
Fantastic. And to let everybody know, we're also not going to be doing a session on Thanksgiving. So
Yes.
I'll be explaining at the time with the in-laws, so I won't be available anyway. But yeah, we'll be having Thanksgiving off. Yeah, and Eric, who have you got anyone coming up that you can tell us about as well for next week?
Yeah.
I don't know what's next week. I know on America's Untold Stories tomorrow is Viva and Barnes for Freeform Friday, which is
brilliant.
Always a kind of a crazy thing. Tuesday, America's Untold Stories, there's an election special that I'm doing. Don't have a subject for next week yet. I don't know. I literally just put together today's last night or yesterday. I don't even remember, but there's some other things that are kind of in the works coming down the line. I don't want to go into them completely, but I've got the behavior panel working with me on an analysis of an actual person in history tied to the JFK assassination, an interview that is uncut footage that's never been seen, to see what they may or may not know. I don't want to give any more details than that.
Cool, good tease.
But and then trying to get some stuff with Gavin done. Like we've got to go over the Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie, that last video that I already sent you, because you made some really cool observations of that I think people will be surprised.
Yeah.
Might not be happy, but I think it'll be surprising to them. And that's all that's off the top of my head. I've got a lot of plates spinning.
Yeah, okay. I'm exactly the same. So yeah, I'll pick that up after the weekend then, Eric, and I'll jump on that, because I kind of missed, my bad entirely, the shark attack guy.
Oh yeah, there's that one too, which I think it'll be fun. Gavin did one of them with me already. We're always looking at body language determining deception and liars. I came up with the idea of, let's look at truth tellers and explore what's going on, and how do you know they're a truth teller? Well, we did Rihanna. We've got police reports, we've got footage, we've got him stating he did it to her. So 100% confirmed. How did she react? What did she say in the interview? We're going to be doing one on the shark attack. How do we know it's real? Everybody saw the shark attack him on film. It's all video. And I just think that there's something there. I don't know if it's a grand idea or not, but I think it's of value
Oh, it is.
to look at people who are telling the truth to see how we're able to do it. Oh, somebody's saying, did I get hold of Samantha Markle? Yes, I talked to Samantha Markle. That's Meghan Markle's sister. And probably we'll be doing something with her. I don't know if it's going to be directly on that or she's going to come on Layback News, but yes, that's in the works. I've also talked to a body language guy. Hope to have him on, trying to work that out. There's a lot of things out there.
Brilliant.
Cool.
Fantastic. Right then, thank you to everybody who came over from Eric's channel. Thank you to everybody who joined and to all the new subscribers. Really, really appreciate it.
And if you're on the replay crew, by the way, subscribe. Please subscribe. He's at 480 right now, but we want to see you looking down and saying, what is Eric talking about? He's at 550. So go ahead and just keep hitting subscribe, even on the replay crew, please.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Fantastic. What a great night and great guest as always. And thank you, Eric, for coming over to join us.
Thanks, Eric.
Sure.
Brilliant.
Eric.
I'm going to end it there.